Chief National Correspondent and the host of Inside Politics, John King, Senior Political Reporter Nia Malika Henderson, former advisor to 4 presidents, including Ronald Reagan and Bill Clinton, David Gergen, Chief Political Analyst Gloria Borger, former Reagan White House Political Director Jeffrey Lord, he's a Donald Trump supporter, Republican strategist Anna Navarro, former Special Advisor to President Obama Van Jones, and last but not least, Democratic strategist Paul Begala. Thanks, one and all, to your being here. Jeffrey, let me just start with you. What we heard from Marco Rubio, he is going to honor his pledge, but beyond that, I didn't hear a lot of, there wasn't a lot of love lost for Donald Trump.
Well, you know, I hope he gets there. I mean, one of the things that I talked about in a column today for Conservative Review, I went back and took a look at Barry Goldwater losing the nomination in 1960 to Richard Nixon. Somebody had nominated him from the floor. He got about 10 or 12 votes. He had to withdraw and give his delegates to Nixon. And among other things, he said, let's grow up, conservatives.
I actually think we have that clip. Can we run that if we can do that?
We've had our chance. We've fought our battles. Now let's put our shoulders to the wheel of Dick Nixon and push him across the line. Let's not lag back. Let's grow up, conservatives. Let's, if we want to take this party back, and I think we can someday, let's get to work.
I think that applies across the board to everybody. Any one of these people could have won and been this nominee. If Marco Rubio had won, I mean, I think everybody should have been there for him. Donald Trump won. I mean, Ted Cruz could have won. Jeb Bush could have won. Donald Trump won. So let's take Senator Goldwater's advice and get on with it. There's such a range of talent here that these people should be invited in, you know, the Lincoln team of rivals, et cetera. They can win this thing. Donald Trump is doing very well in these polls in these key states. In my own state of Pennsylvania today, 1 point behind Hillary Clinton. This is doable. Senator Rubio has a great future here, and I think he is part of the future of the Republican Party. So this is the moment when you do exactly what Barry Goldwater did.
Everybody will get to weigh in here, but I want to go to Anna just because you are a personal friend of Marco Rubio. And what I sensed from him, having covered him now for a long time, was he's really torn. He doesn't want to be disloyal, but he does not approve of whom the Republican voters chose.
Listen, Marco is one of the most eloquent speakers I have ever met. He speaks 2 languages. I speak the same 2 languages, English and Spanish. I had a very hard time parsing what he just said to you in regards to endorsing Donald Trump. I kept thinking, maybe he's talking in code and I'm just not getting the code. Because, you know, you kept asking him the same question. He kept going around in circles about, I signed the pledge to endorse the nominee. I don't want to endorse or vote for Hillary Clinton, but somehow he couldn't get himself to say, I endorse and I support Donald Trump. I think, you know, it's pretty obvious that he is wrestling with it, and it's because of temperament issues. It is because of ideological issues. It is because of policy issues. It's the same reason that so many other Republicans are wrestling with this. I think Marco gave voice to how a lot of Republicans are feeling, you know, coming to terms with the guy being your nominee, but not representing your values or your policy issues.
Rubio, Senator Rubio did what a lot of Republicans are doing, which is he's saying, I will endorse the nominee. It's as if you can't get the words Donald Trump out of your mouth. You hear, you know, John McCain, I will endorse the nominee. Rubio said, I took a pledge. I will endorse the nominee. I think Kelly Ayotte said the same thing. It's as if they can't bring themselves. But there's a reason for that.
And I think no, Ayotte didn't even say that. She said she supported the nominee, but didn't endorse.
Right, didn't endorse.
Yeah, she had like a.
She will support the nominee. But they don't say Donald Trump. Throughout Paul Ryan's entire interview with you, Anderson Cooper pointed this out the other night. He never once said Donald Trump.
And the reason for that is very simple. You had me. I mean, I was right with you, Jeff.
Until
my eyes were welling with tears. And
you Goldwater supporter.
Exactly. And I said,
that happens easily. Half of America has seen you cry by now.
And then you mentioned Lincoln, and that's exactly the point. If you want to be able to build a team of rivals, if you want to be able to reach out to people and make it possible for people to come to you, you can't be talking about body parts and little Rubio. And so I think, a little Marco, so I think that what you are seeing is the necessary, inevitable outcome of the way he has conducted himself inside his own party.
I'm slightly a different place. I don't think it's about hurt feelings. I think Marco Rubio is a very smart man, and I think he still believes Trump will lose. In February, he said this, I'm telling you, if we nominate Donald Trump, we will lose this election to Hillary Clinton. I think he wants to be a loyal soldier to his party. He's been loyal to his party, but I think he believes his party is going to lose.
And David, let me ask you, because I quoted this, the most damning thing that Marco Rubio said about Donald Trump during the primaries, not including the thing about the hands, was that he didn't trust having the nuclear codes in the hands of somebody that was an erratic con man.
Right.
I brought that up 2 or 3 times, and every time he said that he stands by everything he said during the campaign.
He stands by everything he said, but he also said that there's possibility for growth. He was kinder and more respectful of him on the foreign policy than I expected.
On policy, but not necessarily on temperament, I thought, John.
I think that's right.
I thought that was a classic eat your peas moment there, in the sense that, you know, you're right, he's a loyal Republican, and he signed the pledge. And essentially he's saying, my word is good. Not that Donald Trump is good, not that I'm happy about this, but my word is good. So I'm going to do this. And I also think it's personal. He just ran a race for president. Everybody who ran against Trump is surprised by this. But I think they also, Jake, the part they can't figure out is the Republican Party changing under them. If they stay Republicans for the next 5 or 10 years, is this the new Republican Party, or is this a temporary takeover by Donald Trump? And if he loses in November, then they go back to being the way they are. And they can't figure out, if you cast your lot with Trump, and then he loses in a blowout, and the Paul Ryan says, let's go back to being who we were before Donald Trump came along. Where are you? You get lost.
And by the way, he didn't disagree when I pointed out that his foreign policy principles are much closer to Hillary Clinton's than they are to Donald Trump. We're going to roll a little tape of Marco Rubio talking about foreign policy, and then I'm going to come back and get your guys' response. Let's roll that tape.
I believe he could. I mean, obviously, with the right people around him, could make the right decisions with regards to that. Obviously, look, in fairness, and obviously, as I've stated, I have my differences with him, but in fairness, he hasn't held public office before. Some of these issues are issues he's learning about for the first time, and my sense is that as he learns more about them, the way a nominee should and a president will, he'll have more information upon which to make decisions on these issues.
Nia, I thought that was fairly generous as these things go.
Yeah, I mean, that there's a learning curve and that Donald Trump can start to expand his circle of his advisors and maybe even shift some of his policy views. I mean, we've seen some of that over these last couple of days. I think there are hurdles still. I mean, if you think about what he said about a temporary ban on Muslims, Mexico paying for a wall, things like that. I do think if you listen to a lot of these Republicans who are just like viscerally opposed to Donald Trump, for those, a kind of etch-a-sketch moment for Donald Trump is going to be hard to come by, because they talk about character, they talk about values. I mean, they call him names. I mean, if you look at what Lindsey Graham, for instance, has said, he sort of made him seem like he was this kooky guy who believed in conspiracy theories. So I think on that end, it's going to be very hard. But these polls today, out of these swing states, suggest that maybe it won't be a blowout, and that in some ways, maybe Donald Trump isn't more of a standard issue Republican candidate than was thought previously.
David?
I think we cannot underestimate how at bottom these guys are trying to figure out their own futures. And their ambivalence reflects they're not sure which way this is going to go. And every one of them thinks they came out of a race they should have won, and they should be the next president, and they don't mind seeing Donald Trump go down as long as they can be the next nominee.
Yeah. And you know, I thought he was trying to be magnanimous, but in a way, couldn't help but being a little bit dismissive of Donald Trump, because he still can't believe he lost to this guy, right?
Right.
And as you were saying, and he said, with the right people around him, he will learn. Right, and that's kind of not what you normally say about your party's presumptive nominee.
You know,
Well, but he also said who has never been in elected office before. It's a huge difference.
And he's a first-term senator.
Let's give Jeffrey the last word.
One of the things I learned that Marco Rubio has done in the very recent past is give an interview to Mark Levin, who was supporting Senator Cruz. What that says to me is when you're sitting down to talk to Mark Levin, who's been critical of him, Gang of Eight and that sort of thing, you're looking to the future of getting replugged into the conservative movement.
No doubt. We have a lot more to discuss. Stay with us.